It was a walk-off victory for Jackie Robinson Day, and the Phillies are off to their best start in a 17-game stretch in 5 years, folks. Happy Tuesday. Welcome into PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Jamie Lynch, myself, Renee Washington. I see we've got Chris Lem first in the chat, as always. You are consistent, my friend, defending that number one spot. Also, Kim, Dave P., Matt Deckert, Crowley, K. Rowley, and Spiral Out. Welcome into the show today. We've got a lot to talk about. Mickey Durkin as well. Hello. A lot to talk about in recapping yesterday's barn burner 2-1 win over the Rockies. Plus, we're going to have Jim Salisbury on the show with us later
baseball
to talk about the Phillies start to the season. And listen, it's been quite a 24 hours. I know yesterday, Jamie, as we talked with John on the show, and we were, just discussing the recap of the weekend and the Pirates series. For the team overall, there's been a lot of frustration. The pitching on the one side has not been one of them. That's been one of the strong parts. The hitting has been a struggle. We're going to get into all of that today. But yesterday's game, a 2-1 squeezed out win with Cristian Pache as the hero. I don't think I really had that in my bingo cards. When we said we wanted the Phillies to go on and win out between this series and the next series against the White Sox, I guess we should have been more specific of don't make it interesting. Let's have a nice, high scoring win over pretty early, not one that goes into extra innings. But here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the worst pitching staffs in all of Major League Baseball. We talked about this yesterday. When you see a game that you should pounce on, the Phillies usually do the opposite and make you struggle. Mm-hmm. And then they'll go face a Strider and tattoo them in the playoffs. The Phillies are weird. Baseball's weird. The good news is they got the win. And the big positive is I think Aaron Nola had his, probably his best game of the year so far. He was in control of that game from start to finish. And I was really hoping that they didn't lose that game and then people would be like, see, Nola's prone to the home run. It's like, okay, the guy is allowed to make one mistake over the course of a baseball game. So I was happy to see that he didn't get the shrapnel for the offense sucking, because the offense sucked.
Exactly.
Bryce Harper got the first RBI there, but he was clearly frustrated later in the game. Yeah. There's some gross offensive numbers on this team right now. And, we all expect that not to last, but that doesn't mean it's fun to watch in the meantime.
Exactly. All right, let's get into some of the nuggets and the nuts and bolts of what we've been seeing so far. I know you guys in the chat are talking about the play with Jeff Hoffman. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Yoro, his performance, and also the celebration, because there was a really awkward shot of him in that. He is supposed to be okay, but still, we'll talk through his Yoro performances. Whit Merrifield we'll get into. Lots to unpack here. Starting with the pitching, I think we'll go with a positive first,
sure,
because that has been absolutely what's held the team in the game. Now, the Phillies pitching staff has a 3.68 ERA so far this season, third best across Major League Baseball. The starters are sitting at a 2.95 ERA, and the Phillies, with their pitching leading the way, obviously that has been the difference. Through the first 17 games, of course, we've seen lots of struggles. The Phillies have just 30 extra base hits, the fewest in all of Major League Baseball. Through this amount of games last season, they had 63. So offensive production has been a struggle. We're not going to talk about that yet, though, because the pitching has been fantastic. And we saw Aaron Nola, as you mentioned, yesterday really have finally a game without any sort of weather issues, delays, and we've got to finally see Aaron Nola. Shout out to JT Realmuto, who manifested this, saying he hoped that the next time Nola took the mound, it'd be sunny and 75. Well, it was. And Nola, in his 7 1/3 innings, allowed 4 hits, a run, 1 walk, struck out 9, and just fantastic overall to see how we got to see his curveball. We got to see his upper 90s fastball. We got to see the command was there. 12 swings and misses on his curveball. Aaron Nola was solid, was great. Finally got to have a full game of pitching without him having any issues like his first starts, which had so much chaos.
Yeah, he was spectacular. It was good to see the fastball back up in that 92, 93 range. It was down in St. Louis, as we knew, with the bad weather, like 90, 91. So good to see that was a direct correlation to the weather, as we all kind of knew it was. But yeah, his breaking stuff was nasty. A game like last night makes me think Aaron Nola is going to age pretty well. He doesn't have to rely on overpowering stuff. His breaking ball's always been great. His changeup is pretty nasty. He's just one of those guys that should age well.
Yeah.
So that was like a nice back of my mind, like front of the mind, you're thinking about the game. Back of my mind, I was going, Aaron Nola's going to age okay. Like I started thinking about that last night. And it was just a really classic Nola game. He was, one mistake cost him, but when you're letting up one run over 7 innings to the Colorado stinking Rockies, you have to win that game. Like that is, offensively, we all know it's frustrating, but Aaron Nola did his job and beyond last night.
He did, as you mentioned, to be around that 92, 93 mark and have 5 out of his final 6 hitters that he struck out. Aaron Nola only gave up that one blemish, and it shouldn't be a situation where it comes down to one run being the difference in a low score in the sense of a 1-1 game. But Aaron Nola overall, glad to see he finally was able to get a good start. Glad to see, the Phillies able to squeeze out the win, most importantly, because the Phillies have, as we know, unfortunately set their pitchers up in some struggle bus for sure with how they've been unable to score, because the Phillies are, as we know, have scored 60 runs in 17 games. Only the Kansas City Royals have had more starts of 6+ innings with 1 earned run allowed than the Phillies. The Phillies are 3-3 in games where they've had 1 earned run allowed because of the fact that they haven't been able to score. When the Phillies won yesterday, that was the first time this season they've scored 3 or fewer runs and won, because it's really hard to win a game if you score less than 3 runs.
Yeah.
We've seen them get shut out. We've seen them score once. We've seen them struggle. And still we're looking for games where they can score more than 5 runs, because as of now, we've only seen 1. And that was the game when Bryce Harper had 3 home runs. So the scoring has been a struggle, but fortunately, as I keep trying not to talk about it yet, the pitching was great. Jeff Hoffman, who says he wishes baseball was a contact sport. Honestly, plays like that of 2 pitchers going against each other, let's just talk about it. You don't see that, and there's a reason you don't often see that in baseball.
Bud Black,
that
are you
was
okay?
Bizarre to see that play unfold. First of all, shout out to Jeff Hoffman for just having the awareness in that play, and it was a very, very smart, very heads-up play. But when you look at Kyle Freeland, who was brought in as the pinch runner, you have your opening day pitcher who you're putting in late in the game in a situation like that, because the Rockies had a number of different injuries. Of course, our buddy Jake Cave was out sick. They had a couple other players that were out as well. And so the Rockies were scrambling a little bit. They didn't have any options. So because Brendan Rodgers and Jake Cave were sick, because Chris Bryant has a bad back, it led them to put Freeland in that moment. And that collision with Hoffman was terrifying. Freeland looked hurt at first, but then I also was wondering how much of it was, listen, the soccer in him maybe, of like, it looked like an awkward play, don't get me wrong, but I felt like he was trying to sell it a little bit to get
pride.
The call. It absolutely was. And listen, I see it all the time, especially in sports like soccer, of like, let me lay there and be a little hurt longer to hope that the ump can sway the call in my favor. But he was okay ultimately, as Jeff spoke to him afterwards. It's still a really wonky, weird play that you don't really see at all.
No, a lot of people were tweeting about it, like, what the hell are the Rockies doing? Hoffman and Freeland are apparently pretty good buddies from Hoffman's time in Colorado. And, it was weird. He kind of like jammed down his shoulder as he slid, and just, it like almost had nothing to do with Hoffman. It was just like a pitcher
really
slide.
Awkward
slide. Yeah. I mean, Hoffman is a big boy. And he said after the game, like, I kind of wish baseball was more of a contact sport. I saw Mickey Durkin in the chat say, sign him up for the Eagles linebacker. It kind of seems like Jeff Hoffman wants that. So if we can institute, maybe tackling with Rob Manfred, maybe put some more butts in the seats, play at the bag instead of it just being a race. Maybe you can tackle the guy. really liven up the sport, make it a
Baseball
little more
used
like
to have
football.
more contact.
Yeah.
I mean, you can revert
So
back.
Jeff
to
Hoffman might be onto something here. But that was a unbelievable athletic play by JT and Hoffman to make that.
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, we have to talk about the Phillies' wild pitches. I don't know if it's JT or the pitchers or what, but it seems like it's at an extraordinary rate for 17 games. But JT to turn around like that, grab it, and do the backhand flip to Hoffman, and his feet came down like I got to give him credit for it. It was like right on the edge of the plate, straight up blocked Freeland's foot from getting in there. It was a unbelievable play that really saved their ass because that game was over. I don't think the Phillies are going to come back and win that. So Hoffman and JT might get the hat tip of the evening for that one to recover from their own mistake.
Yeah. I mean, JT brought out some of the high school football skills there. You could see the composure with the play. But as you mentioned, that was a game-saving play. Yes, Cristian Pache's walk-off was the heroics to win it, but JT and Jeff in that moment was a game-saving play. Bryce Harper, late in the game, that play he made top of the 10th, where he looks like he grew a few inches and snags the ball out the air. That's a game-saving play. With how bad the offense has been, you cannot allow, it's sad, you cannot allow that. You don't want to get down at all. So JT
Not
and
with
Jeff,
this offense right now.
no, JT and Jeff for that play was absolutely phenomenal to see. And hats off to them for just the composure.
Do the Phillies have a wild pitch problem right now? Because it kind of feels like they do. I haven't gone and deep dove the numbers and extrapolated it, through 17 games, but it feels like something's a little off this year defensively, whether it be the wild pitches or the lack of double plays. Maybe we'll ask Jim about that, but Jim's going to join us at 11:30. I don't know. It does seem like the wild pitches. I don't know if it's a communication error. The one that JT took off the wrist last week, he was clearly going down and low for a breaking ball. I think that was a pitch communication error, but it does seem like Turnbull, is wildly effective. Like he had some diving in the dirt. Wheeler, felt bad. He got JT in the dirt. One bounced up on him. It does seem like it's at a higher rate right now, and you'd really like to see that calm down a little bit.
Yeah, we've seen a few times, as you mentioned, between JT and even Stubbs when he got hit.
He got it in the jewels.
Yeah, like we've seen too many times in a 17-game span. That's 3 or 4. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're
Tyler's
very off.
deep dive in the stats over there.
No,
but it's very off, and it's very odd to see.
Right?
So it's not there's nothing statistical to dive into per se. To me, and listen, I'm going to preface this by saying I have never caught a meaningful inning in my life. I'm left-handed. Usually that trends with not being a catcher.
Can you name an MLB left-handed catcher?
Not off the top of my head.
I don't think I can either.
But the thing that I've noticed recently, and I've spoken to some guys who are in coaching, and they have varying levels of opinions from I teach this religiously to I absolutely hate this. And I don't know how much this comes into play. There has been a shift in positioning behind the plate, and it's how catchers are receiving the ball. And there's a lot of leg lockout. You see JT doesn't do it as frequently, but he does do it, and I think it's either knee on the ground or leg lockout, and it's to get low and compress to be able to go and receive the ball. And basically the thought process behind it is if you're low and compressed and you go and receive the ball, you're going to steal lower strike zone or below the strike zone strikes. And so the thought is you're low, you're compact, and you go through the zone and up through the zone to make the play and steal.
I'm sorry, here you won't have to frame anymore.
Well, correct. But the issue with that is, and I noticed it last night, maybe not on the curveball per se, because I think that, obviously Hoffman spiked it a little bit, but I've noticed this with JT and some other catchers throughout the league recently, is that when you're in a locked out position, especially maybe not so much knee on the ground, but when that knee is flexed out in a locked out position, there is nowhere physically for your trunk to go. There is nowhere physically for your lower half to go. So you're really relying upon your pick skills, and you're relying upon shifting your upper body to block the ball. Again, I'm not a catcher. I've never been a catcher, so I don't understand the thought process behind it. But I'm curious if positioning, especially lower half positioning, with that knee on the ground or the leg fully extended.
Do you think it's an adjustment to also, on top of framing, to stolen bases uptick and catchers maybe
Well,
trying
I
to
think
get in a
that
better
I think
position?
I think it's that plus obviously the disengagement rules are causing
Yeah.
Significant uptick in stolen
and the
bases
bigger
as well.
bases and all of
Exactly.
it. I mean, the game wanted more stolen bases, so catchers are probably going like, all right, well, let me get myself in the best position. I don't know. It's something to observe. Real quick before you take it back, Renee, the last left-handed catcher in Major League Baseball, if you pulled this out of your hat, Tyler, I would have been impressed. Benny DiStefano.
Randy said that.
Really? Yeah, 3 games for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1989. I think MBD had A.J. Pierzynski, but I think
Yeah.
he threw right, batted left. So we're talking about guys that threw left behind the dish. You don't see that. And he only made it 3 games. I don't mean to laugh, but it's a weird thing.
It's
Yeah, it is
three more
weird.
games than any of us
That's
played.
exactly.
It's just weird to imagine a pitcher throwing lefty from behind the plate. It's
That is
just
weird.
something you never think about.
Man, yeah, you and Randy, you were on it. Good job, guys. But Tyler, I know in the chat they were asking if you were ever a catcher.
No,
You were
definitively not. Definitively not. God, no. I had no interest in catching, even if I was right-handed. But I did take this screenshot a couple of days ago when the Phillies were in St. Louis and playing the Cardinals. And this is kind of what I'm referring to, is this
Look at
receiving
you.
position. I don't know how you're going to throw runners out that way. I understand that, guys have crazy arms behind the plate. They're professionals, and they know more than me. But, I just don't envision a way that this is positive to your throwing motion.
If your cleat's in the ground, you might be able to just kind of half stand and launch.
But
Right.
and this
quicker.
is not even to the spot that I was talking about with that leg kicked out. That's even worse.
That one I could see being a throw out stance more than the leg lock one. Because the leg lock, once you're locked, I mean, I'm just an old, but it's harder to get up
exactly.
because there's no flexibility. That at least maybe you could get your cleat down and throw from your knees while pushing your body into it. I don't know. It's interesting,
Yeah.
but it does seem like the Phillies have a little bit of a wild pitch issue going on here.
Yeah, we also have a wild allergy season issue going on right now. And some people like myself, I now have allergies apparently. So it is that time of year. You can probably hear it in my voice. We've got the itchy throats. We've got the sneezing, the congestion, the brain fog, the headaches, a cough that's lingering, runny nose. It's annoying. It's wild. It's frustrating. And over at Rite Aid, you can help get ahead of allergy season because the pollen from trees, grass, weeds are causing seasonal allergies. Symptoms are flaring. You're not feeling great. You're feeling that sneezy, runny, itchy feel, and it might be pollen allergy. So over at Rite Aid, which I love, and I have my Rite Aid card that I get extra benefits and rewards from as I purchase anything. You can sign up for Rite Aid rewards today, get emails, get alerts from them. They also give you updates and tips and advice on how to deal with the allergy season, what you can do. Little things like making sure you take your shoes off when you go in the house and your coat so you're not trekking pollen through your house, or showering before you go to bed so you're not sleeping in pollen. That sounds gross, but some of you are doing it. Also making sure that you are keeping your windows closed, running air conditioners as needed. So many tips that Rite Aid has for you, and so many options also available to treat your allergies over the counter. They've got Flonase and different seasonal nasal sprays, They've got different over-the-counter medications that can really help you make sure that you're feeling good. I'm actually headed to Rite Aid after this because I need to stock up on some more allergy medicine because I don't have any. But now that I have allergies, I've got to go to Rite Aid. Yay! So over at Rite Aid, you can check them out today. Visit your local Rite Aid, stock up on allergy relief, or just catch up on any immunizations, whether it's for RSV, shingles, and more. All that can be done right at your local Rite Aid. What I love is they have a little bit of everything. Snacks, drinks, medicine.
I know you're
maybe
getting the ice cream. Come on.
Yeah, I love the last minute makeup stuff. They do have some good treats, candy and ice cream and things like that. Rite Aid, so much more than just medicine. They are the spot where you can find anything you need. And you can also walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment anytime at riteaid.com. It's convenient. It's right there for you. Every aisle, I just get lost. I end up wandering down. I go in for one thing, I walk out with 10 because Rite Aid has so many different things. So for your allergy season, or maybe you want to get some nice ice cream as it's warm outside, or maybe treat yourself to, I don't know, pick up some new makeup things, you can head over to Rite Aid, shop today, and get the best and great deals right at your local Rite Aid.
Yeah, my treatment for pollen when I'm hanging out in the backyard with friends and family is a Miller Lite. I go, these allergies suck. I need a cold, delicious, refreshing beer. And I use it like a neti pot. I put it right up my nose, and then I drink it down, and I flush my system. It's quite great. Miller Lite, it serves many purposes. And it's a great thing to have. When friends and family are coming over, I just say, hey, there's cold Miller Lights in the fridge. Go help yourself. And a lot has changed over the years, but since 1975, Miller Lite is the original light beer, and it stood the test of time because it's still to this day the best one. Going to the game on Sunday with the girls for Fanatic's birthday, a Miller Lite will be in my hand. I can guarantee you that, because it's less filling. You don't feel bogged down and bloated like other heavy beers out there. They keep it simple, undebatable quality with great taste, and only 96 calories. And it tastes like a beer should taste. It's the original light beer since 1975, and times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, you can go to MillerLite.com/PHLY Fills, or you can find it pretty much everywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounce.
All right. Well, in the chat, I see we've got a lot of you guys talking about Rite Aid and allergies. Dave P., Mickey, Chris, Ari. What's up, Ari? Nice to see you, buddy. Make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. Linda as well. You're talking about the errant pitches that you saw when you were at the game on Saturday.
Dave P., I also sweat over 75 degrees. Yes. Sweat gang.
I sweat too.
I felt pretty bad about myself yesterday. I had to fix, we have a furniture cover. I got a couple tears in it.
Oh.
And I was just duct taping up all the tears on the inside. And I was just down on my hands and knees crawling around. And I had a full head of sweat. And my wife just looked at me and I was like, it's hot today, okay?
It was hot yesterday.
It was legit.
It was very hot. That was probably not a great day to be. Yeah.
If it was only 24 hours. So I went, all right, I'm not turning on the air conditioning.
I had the same issue.
But
and I was sweating so
tempted.
bad. I put on the ceiling fan, but that wasn't doing it. That was just
I opened
blowing
every
around.
window and the ceiling fans were on.
It was not doing much though. I actually broke down and turned the AC
24 hours a day. All of them.
Like when you're not home?
Yeah. You just keep that air circulating in the house.
Sure.
No stale air all day.
It's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't cost nothing.
No, that's not expensive or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So I'm with you, Sweat Gang, Dave P.
I do sweat. My nose sweats a lot. But anyway,
it's
a struggle. It's a struggle out here. But also what's a struggle is the Phillies offense. And we have to talk about some of these numbers. So the Phillies yesterday with the win, it was their second walk-off win of the season, their first in extra innings. They've now won 2 out of their 3 in extra inning games this season. 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, 6 hits on the night. We even saw fans doing the wave in the 8th inning. That's where we are, guys. That's where we are. Fans brought out the wave in the 8th inning at Citizens Bank Park, trying to do anything to help. Anything can help at this point. So as mentioned, the Phillies, there's 60 runs in 17 games, but also just the overall production. When you look at across the board, yes, we finally got Bryce Harper got that RBI single, but he's been struggling. Nick Castellanos has been struggling. We're going to talk a lot more with Jim Salisbury about the details of what he thinks of these guys so far. It's really been because of the pitching that the Phillies have been able to squeeze out wins, because overall in their at-bats, not looking great. Johan Rojas has been steadily improving. Very, very incremental improvements. Brandon Marsh continues to be a bright spot, but it's been frustrating to see the lack of offensive production for the Phillies offense.
Yeah, it has been, and there's some real troubling Nick Castellanos numbers. I mean, Bryce Harper is going through it right now. Yeah. You just kind of saw balls dying at the warning track last night. Him and Turner did hit balls hard. And I think that's the most frustrating part for Harper. And perhaps it may be the most frustrated we've seen him offensively as a player, because he's smacking the shit out of some of these balls.
I know.
And what can you do? I mean, it's so hard. If you hit the ball 109 miles an hour off the bat, you would expect it's going to have a pretty good chance of finding some grass out there and getting on base. And it's just not for him right now. And, he's wearing it into the dugout, and that sucks. Castellanos check swing last night on a ball that was almost out of the opposite batter's box. That dude is going through it.
He almost got a sword on a ball that was in the opposite batter's box.
It was really bad.
I don't know what's happening.
I think they have one guy on the team, Brandon Marsh, with over a 790 OPS right now.
Easy.
It's just really bad. And here's the number we saw on Castellanos. This was courtesy of Schmenkman on Twitter, TGP Schmenk. Okay. But he did some Nick Castellanos baseball reference deep diving last night, and this is what he found. Out of 189 qualifying hitters, he's one of only 2 left without an extra base hit so far. The other is Alejandro Kirk. I will say I think that's a little bit skewed because his walk-off winner last Saturday, probably if Sawinski's playing normal depth there, I still think it has a good chance of being a double. He did smoke that one, so that one's a little off. But to put it in perspective how bad that is for Castellanos, on Friday he became the 10th hitter with 2,500 total bases since 2014. Ooh. So, like, because he was a doubles machine. This was a guy that was, accustomed to hitting 45-plus doubles a year before the Phillies got him. And now he's 17 games into a season and doesn't have one. He might have one scoring there. He didn't technically touch second, but I kind of think that was a double. But that's a troubling trend for him.
It's not good. It's not good. And I know we talked a lot about, for Nick specifically, how he's been trying to focus on his chase rate and all these things that may have mentally have him just out of it. But we got to figure out how we can get him back in it. Like, how can you work through the slump? You had this weekend, you finally got a hit, helped the Phillies win the game. But outside of that, we haven't seen anything from Nick Castellanos. Whit Merrifield's another one. I know in the chat you guys are talking about Whit. Prior to yesterday, in his 27 plate appearances through the first 16 games, Whit went 3 for 25 without an extra base hit or RBI. Whit Merrifield did get to start because Rob is trying to get something out of him. I know you guys are talking about he shouldn't be out there, he shouldn't be starting over them, but Whit was brought in to be a utility piece that can be inserted where needed and hasn't been able to help produce at all. Yes, he did get that bunt yesterday. Great. We saw some small ball finally from the Phillies. That is something we actually have been asking for. Small ball helped keep the inning alive, which led to Cristian Pache's walk-off. But Whit Merrifield has been absolutely struggling. He played all 9 innings in 4 of the Phillies' first 6 games this season, started 3 of the previous 10 heading into Monday. He's had starts, he's had opportunities, and with them hasn't done anything. And we know, again, brought in to be able to be that backup in case Johan Rojas couldn't perform or in case you need to fill in for maybe Brandon Marsh or anybody else. But right now you can't even go to him because he's really struggling.
Yeah, I think it's clear Rob wanted him to kind of hit his way out of this, and he's giving him probably more at-bats than he should because he's a vet and he wanted him to turn that corner. Now you're at the point where, like, okay, let's get back to Whit Merrifield maybe being a 3-day-a-week guy. Yeah. And you're just going to have to hope he can hit his way out of it getting minimal at-bats. I mean, part of the reason why me and others thought he was a good fit here was because he had that kind of wear and tear dip off last year after the All-Star break.
Exactly.
Where you thought, like, all right, maybe minimized innings, he's able to sustain it for the full season. He's what, 33, I think? So, it's like, I don't know what you do because
35. I was going to say he's older than 33.
I was light there.
Yeah.
He's clearly not hitting. You want to minimize his role, but you also want him to have the opportunity to get out of it. Because he's showing you on the back of his baseball card, he will get out of it.
Yeah.
But it looks not great right now.
Yeah, I think, kind of like what we saw Cristian Pache do. Cristian Pache he was working in the cage hitting. He was working with the machine. He was working specifically on being aggressive in his at-bats and sinkers, facing different looks. And it helped. Maybe let's limit Whit to more just machine work until we can get him in live game action doing a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a tad bit frustrating, but I'm excited to be able to have Jim join us in a moment to talk through it and get his thoughts on really how the Phillies have been starting off so far this season, Jamie.
Yeah, and you can start off a great credit union for yourself with our friends at TrueMark Financial. They're a staple here of the Delaware Valley and beyond. They're based right in Fort Washington, right down the road from my house, actually. And TrueMark Financial, the beauty of them is you become a part owner when you open an account with them, which means profits come back to you, the customer, and not to some faceless, nameless shareholder just trying to profit off of your back. You get better rates, lower fees, and a better return on savings and more flexible options, all with the same digital tools and tech that make life a little bit easier. TrueMark has local roots, meaning they hire locally, they care about the community they work in. They're based right in Fort Washington, and they have 24 branches across the Philadelphia area, and they serve our community and our people right here at home. And becoming a member of a credit union has so many benefits to being a customer at a bank. It's a total no-brainer. So head over to truemark.com/PHLY to learn more or to find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA.
And while we're talking about taking risks and making sure they pay off, you can also take great risks and have great gut health with Olipop. You can see them over my shoulder here on the left, where you can have a chance to drink their delicious flavors. It's soda with the classic taste, but also helping with your digestive health, because 2 out of every 3 Americans say they're not getting the correct amount of fiber. They're dealing with digestive issues. And over Olipop, they're working to correct that. They want to make sure that you have all that you need. The prebiotics, 2 to 5 grams of sugar, 9 grams of fiber per can, 2 to 5 grams of sugar per can, let me say. And also plant-based fiber as well as botanical ingredients to really help support your gut health. On top of that, Olipop also has a lot of different delicious flavors for you. We've tried them all here. They're very good. Classic grape, strawberry vanilla, cream soda, cherry cola, a Dr. Goodwin, vintage cola, classic root beer. And the best part is you've got options on how you drink your Olipop. Maybe you want just a straight soda. Maybe you want to mix it in with some ice cream and have a root beer float. Yum. Maybe you want to mix it with a liquor and have a nice, mixed drink on this sunny Tuesday. You've got options at Olipop, and you've also got options where to buy them, because Olipop is available online, on Amazon, on drinkolipop.com, but also in 30,000 retailers nationwide. As Wawa is celebrating their 60th birthday, we said?
Yes.
60 years of Wawa. Go to Wawa and get some Olipop, because you can buy Olipop off the shelves at Wawa, Wegmans, Sprouts, Target, GoPuff, ShopRite. And when you shop, use code PHLY20. Get 20% off of your next order at Olipop. That only applies to first-time orders or one-time orders, not subscriptions. And again, check out Olipop online or in stores in those 30,000 stores nationwide. All right, well, it's time to get a little bit more insight as to what's going on with the Phillies. So with that, we're going to welcome in our PHLY contributor, Jim Salisbury. Nice to have you here, Jim. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Renee. How you doing, Jamie? Renee, great to be with you guys.
Nice to have you here. Like, we've been talking a lot about the offensive struggles, Jim. Let's just jump right in, because it's been very frustrating, of course, to see the Phillies' lack of production. They are sitting in their 17 games, their best 17-game start in 5 years. So that's for perspective, everybody. They are over 500. They are in their best start in 5 years. But 8 games that they've had 3 or less runs scored. What are your thoughts on their slow start offensively? The pitching's been great, but we haven't seen the production like we want with the runs.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think everything is magnified early in the season. And we've seen this team in snippets in the last handful of years have periods when they go dry offensively, and, they're having one out of the gate. And I think there's probably a lot of reasons for it. I think the at-bats were a little down number-wise in spring training because some guys had the flu. And they got them kind of off their feet and away from the action. Weather's had something to do with it, and some of it's just baseball. They did stress a lot in spring training about minimizing chasing pitches out of the zone. It was a constant theme. Obviously, we saw what happened when they chased a lot in games 6 and 7 of the NLCS, and I think. I don't think it was limited to just that, though. That it was a problem during the season at times. So you stress that all winter, you hear about it all winter, you talk about it all spring, and then it's on your mind a lot as hitters. And I think some of the guys have talked about this. They've been so conscious of chasing that it's created some defensive swings and produced less than quality at bats, produced a slugging percentage that is anemic. Even Rob Thompson has kind of validated this idea, saying that, they talked about it a lot. He thinks it's on guys' minds. I do think as things evolve here, as the weather gets a little bit better, because, you don't have to have perfect weather to play baseball, but some of the weather they've had has been awful. That said, Bryce Harper hit three home runs in awful weather. So, it's baseball. Don't figure it out. I do believe in the track records. I do think this is a team that's built to hit, built to score runs. Fourth in the league last year in runs scored. I think they're going to get back in that area, and I think the offense is eventually going to be fine. Slow start. You are a game over 500 after 17, given some of the slow starts in past years, given some of the slow starts in the batter's box. I would certainly take that. I do think they're going to hit. Like I said, I think this is at times over the last handful of years, we've seen the struggle with runners in scoring position. We've seen the struggle to score runs. It happens. It happens to this team. There's swing and miss. There's strikeouts. Guys go cold. They have a lot of streaky guys. I think eventually some of these guys will put it together. You know, you get 3 guys hot in your lineup and another 2 guys starting to warm, and you got something special. I'm really not worried about the slow start with the bats. If it wasn't there with the pitching you've gotten, they'd have a better record. But I know in Philadelphia, we especially hate to hear this, but I will say it, it's early.
Yeah.
Jim, it's always important how you end the year, not how you start the year. But what do you've been around this team a long, long time, and it seems like regardless of the players on the roster, who the manager is, who the hitting coach is, they just seem to start slow. Does anything about that make sense to you, or is it just baseball being a weird sport and sometimes it takes a little while to get going?
Yeah, I think, you know, there are guys who start quick, but some of your top guys on this team have started slow in recent years. I think the big example is, you know, Kyle Schwarber, but then June comes and he's a madman. So, like I said, I think it'll happen. I can't put my finger on it. You know, I think guys used to get more at bats in spring training. I think, you know, though it's not classic load management, I do think organizations watch playing time in spring training. So guys are preserved for the long haul. I understand it, but I think that can lead to some slow starts. I think the weather can lead to some slow starts. And I think every season is different. Some year a guy gets off to a hot start, some years he struggles. But when you hold it up at the end, that 162, those 162 games, they mean something. Track record means something. The cliche about the back of the baseball card, you know, means something. Harper's going to be right where he needs to be. Schwarber's going to be right where he needs to be. Castellanos is going to be right where he needs to be. He's a guy who's struggled for extra base hits right now, but he's a streaky guy. And at some point, I think he's going to hit a good streak, and he's going to be standing on second base, pumping his fist at the dugout, and the crowd's going to be going crazy, and he's going to, have 30 doubles or something. So not overly worried, but hey, if this is a month from now, our conversation might be different.
Yeah, and Jim, as you're touching on some of the different guys' performances so far, let's go a little bit deeper into talking about them, starting with Kyle Schwarber, who's been one of the positives. So let's go on the positive side there. His chase rate is one of the lowest of his career. His overall first pitch swing rate, his numbers, even his ability to get on base has improved tremendously, especially against left-handed pitchers. You know, Kyle, who looks slimmer, looks like he's toned down a bit and definitely moving faster. Of course, he's even mentioned his knee has been feeling much better. What do you take from his start to the season? Because he's one that traditionally starts slower, yet this year we're actually getting him much better, especially in his role as leadoff and just how he's been able to kickstart the season in a pretty strong way.
Sure. He's always a focal point because he's a leadoff guy and he's an unconventional leadoff guy, but they win ball games when he leads off. I mean, that's what matters most. I think you're right saying he looks to be a little trimmer, maybe in a little better shape. I think that'll help his knees. And I think one of the big things I saw, watching him swing the bat in spring training and here in the early season, maybe not so pull happy, kind of, using the middle of the field, gap to gap. And I think that's just going to create a better hitter. I mean, if Kyle Schwarber, obviously last year he barely hits 200. If he could hit like 235, you'd have that much more contact, and I think his power numbers would even be better, and his production would be even better. So I do believe he's off to a good start and a positive start. And I just like the way he's swinging it and kind of using the middle of the field. And he's been a great signing here. I know we focus on the 200 batting average and the strikeouts, That's in a lot of ways what the game brings you with a lot of players these days. But man, his production has been really, huge for this team. The power numbers and the RBIs he gives you and the on base percentage. I think we forget they didn't go to the postseason for a decade before he got here. They struggled to find a consistent leadoff man for a decade before he got here. I know it's unusual and it's unorthodox, but they've entered the postseason twice. They've won a lot of ball games he signed for 2 more years, and I expect 2 more good years out of him here, and he's off to a nice start.
Yeah, he's a tremendous leader. You can see the way the young guys really look up to him there.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
One of the best I've seen. I covered Dalton. He was a great leader. There's been a ton of great leaders. But the thing with a great leader, you don't try to be a leader. You are a leader. And,
Right.
Dalton never tried to be a leader. He evolved into a leader.
He's
Kyle
right
doesn't,
away.
to me, Kyle doesn't try to lead. He just leads with his personality. Very inclusive. Has time for everybody in that clubhouse. After a defeat or even after a win, he's the guy a lot of guys will gravitate around and talk about the game, rehash the game. That's great for developing your baseball IQ. That's great for developing camaraderie. Comes very natural to him. And he's really, really good at it. And I look at him as sort of a total package addition to this team 2 years ago.
Yeah, Jim,
that.
I think, there's a couple positives with this team. The starting rotation, team ERA, and strikeout numbers are phenomenal. But the thing that really makes me feel good about the direction of the Phillies for the next couple years is Dombrowski, Fold, and Mattingly have shown, along with their front office people, a great ability to kind of capitalize on some bullpen arms. Guys that throw gas out there for not much. I mean, Hoffman, Alvarado, Marte, they're finding some gems in the rough here. Do you think this is something that if Dave Dombrowski flees to Nashville in a couple years to start the expansion team, that Fold and Mattingly and the rest of the staff can kind of absorb and maintain? Because that is a tremendous skill to have as a front office.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Sam Fold and Preston Mattingly are really smart guys. Sam Fold played in the major leagues. He's a graduate of Stanford. He's been pursued by other organizations for positions. He's a really bright guy, and who better to mentor under than Dave Dombrowski? Yeah, I think they'll continue to have those qualities. So much of it is these days. We see the way bullpens are kind of up and down. They're volatile. They're mercurial. The one constant I see is organizations will always take a shot on a reliever, even when he's failed or hasn't put it together in 2 or 3 different spots. You might be the 4th spot. You might be the place he puts it together. And they'll always roll the dice on stuff, velocity, great movement, a great hook, that one great pitch in the bullpen where you might only need one great pitch and another pretty good one. So you mentioned some names that have excellent pickups. Alvarado, his first year here, I thought he's really struggled with his command, but he's really, put it together. The addition of that cutter has given him a lot of confidence. Hoffman was a waiver claim like a year ago. Hell of a pickup. There's a lot there. So I think with bullpens, always take a shot on the stuff, always take a shot on the arm, always take a shot that a new voice, some new coaching might be the thing that unlocks them. Always take a shot in the fact that it's a volatile, mercurial position, and you might be just, one day away from it clicking for you for a year. So they've built a good bullpen. They had a good bullpen last year, and they, appear to have built another good one here. That said, you mentioned Dombrowski. He didn't come here in his mid-60s not to win. He works for an owner who wants to win. If he sees a fault out there, a hole out there, he's going to address it in July. They're going to go out there, and I think that's an area that he'll have his antennae up about potentially improving, even if it's a strength. But it has a chance to even get a little bit better now with Kirkering coming back, homegrown guy, great stuff. Working to get better, adding a 2-seamer to that power repertoire with the fastball slider. So some good things are happening out there.
Yeah. We've been talking about it, so much about how one of the big positives is absolutely the pitching as a whole. Because as you mentioned, the at-bats, the runs, that's something that can click later. But you don't want to have your starting pitching and definitely even your bullpen arms come out and start the season off very flat. And so far, that's been a positive. But one other thing I want to hit on, Jim, the last thing for me before we let you go, on a lighter note, it is the 60th anniversary today for Wawa. Word on the street is you're a huge Wawa guy.
Oh, yeah.
Are you headed to Wawa today? And if so, what
Free
are
coffee,
you
Jim.
getting?
Well, I can answer that question quite succinctly. I head to Wawa every day, so I will eventually get there. I don't drive by one without jumping in there and grabbing a coffee or a snack. So yes, I am a Wawa fan, and occasionally my waistline shows it. When I drive home from the ballpark late at night all those years, I would always pass 3 Wawas, and I would always stop at 1, and on some nights I'd stop at 2. And then when there was construction on 322, I'd have to go the blue route, and all of a sudden my 3 Wawas turned into 6 Wawas. I'd pass 6 Wawas, quite literally, and I would hit them, but I always hit them on the way into the ballpark. So congratulations, 60 years. That's a long time, boy. I'll have to get in there and get my free coffee today.
Absolutely. Jim, last one for me has to do with perhaps my favorite Philly, and he's taking the mound tonight, Ranger Suarez. This guy just answers the bell all the time in big game spots, bullpen, starter, whatever. What do you think his realistic ceiling kind of is? I think on some teams he could possibly be a 2, but here with the Phillies, obviously he's got 2 great pitchers ahead of him. How good can Ranger Suarez be?
Yeah, I don't pay a lot of attention to the number thing because we talk about number ones, and I think it can be overstated. I think there's very few number ones in the game, very few aces. But, what matters is you're a good pitcher and you keep your team in the game that day. I mean, I hear people say Aaron Nola is a 2 or 2.5 or a 3 on some days. Who cares? All I know is he's a darn good pitcher. And last night he pitched like a number 1. Ranger Suarez, what's his ceiling? An all-star. A guy could, get to 200 innings. Maybe the best is yet to come. He was kind of that slow and steady guy that continues to put it together. He's found good health. And he's a location guy. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Cliff Lee in terms of his demeanor. Get the ball, throw the ball. Nothing phases him. Doesn't matter what role he pitches. And if you remember a couple of years ago, he pitched in 3 different roles, right? He was a closer, he was a long man, then he was one of their best starters. So I don't care if he's a number 3. Tonight he has the capability to go out there and be a number 1. He's that good. When he's hitting his spots, he's throwing his changeup, getting it into right-handers on their hands occasionally, working it away with that changeup. He's a really good pitcher, a real Phillies success story. They signed him out of Venezuela, Sal Agustinelli and his crew for $25,000. I mean, you look at the numbers that some of these young pitchers are getting, either in the domestic draft or in the free agency in Latin America. This is a guy that was a soccer player and a baseball player, great athlete, wanted a chance to pitch, and boom, slowly but steady climbs the ladder. Seems to get better every year. Great intangibles in terms of poise, in terms of executing, in terms of location, the ice water in his veins cliche. Heck of a pitcher. You might see the best year of his career this year.
Love it.
Ooh, I would love that.
Well, yeah, Ricky Batalico says Cy Young candidate.
He's been
why not? I mean, why not? You know how you win a Cy Young? You pitch good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he's capable of pitching good.
Yeah.
And you do it consistently. Every 5th day, you go out there, you keep your team in the game, you pitch well. He's got all the ingredients to be a very good major league starting pitcher. He already is.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. And everybody loves Ranger. I know in the chat they're talking about how adorable he is and how he's Mr. Smooth Operator. But
he's and he's as good a guy as you would think by looking at him. He's just a really good, easygoing, easy smile. I did a story a few years ago on him, and his family's back home in Venezuela, and the whole family comes to his house when he pitches, and they have a a party every time he pitches. They watch the game on TV. So, yeah, he's a good one. But, still, the weather's getting better. They need to start hitting because hand in hand with, pitching, your pitcher is out there trying to prevent runs. You got to score them some runs. They're 0-4 with Zach Wheeler on the mound.
Runs produce
You can't
for
be
him,
that
Jim.
way with your ace. You got to get Rangers some runs. I mean, extra base hits have been very difficult to come by for this team. It would be nice if they racked up a few tonight, so it's not life and death in the 8th and 9th inning like it was last night, and put some runs on the board and let Ranger cruise a little bit.
Yeah, got to support your pitchers, especially when they're playing so well. So, Jim, we appreciate you so much for taking time to join us, to weigh in. Go enjoy some Wawa and the rest of your Tuesday.
Go get your free coffee. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to Wawa right now.
There
I
you
might
go,
even
there
get
you
some.
go.
I might even get some turkey pinwheels.
Oh, wow. There you go. Living on the edge. I love it. Enjoy.
We'll talk to you soon, Jim.
Yes, talk to you very soon.
See you guys. Thanks.
See ya. But as Jim mentioned,
Ranger
so
All-Star
many.
Cy Young. Let's go.
Listen, Major League Baseball did drop today the front runners for Cy Young. Zach Wheeler is one that is also up there with Tyler Glasnow in the NL. But Ranger did get mentioned as an honorable mention. Yes, he did.
Wow.
Yes, he did. The only two
Ricky
Phillies.
Bo's been pushing that. And when I first heard, and Ricky's a buddy, so like I'll text him sometimes and bust his chops. When he first said it, and you know how I love Ranger. I mean, when I heard it, I went like, damn.
Yeah.
Really? And then he said it again last night, and I was like, if Ranger can get to that like 16, 17 win territory with a sub 3 ERA, and if he can get to those 200 strikeouts, like who the hell knows?
By the way, Jamie, you can get a pretty good play with our friends at Bet Parks.
Oh yeah, what do you got tonight?
Plus 10,000
Oh,
for Ranger
plus
to win the Cy Young.
10,000 for Ranger Cy Young?
Well, the other thing is, obviously, in the NL, it really has opened up even more.
Sure.
Obviously, Spencer Strider,
Strider being out changes everything.
Huge. Tyler Glasnow has been off to a great start with the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's been filthy.
So he's definitely been the front runner. But Zach Wheeler is still, even despite the fact the Phillies haven't helped him out at all, still is someone that's up there. So Ranger actually has a really good potential.
10,000.
The names that are listed, it's like Zach Gallen.
That's worth $5.
Freddie Peralta,
$10.
Ranger Suarez, Dylan Cease. Like Rangers.
What do you guys think? $5 a head? We throw in a $15 bet on Ranger?
I think we do.
You got the calculator there in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, $15 wins you $1,500.
Oh.
I mean,
$15 probably loses you $15.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I would do it. Tyler, place that bet right now.
Yeah, let's hop in.
I would
Bet
do
Parks,
it.
I'm coming for your money.
Yeah, I like that actually because it's definitely the way he wants to be able to pitch over 200 innings, as he mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be able to obviously stay healthy. That's been a big part for him. He hasn't been able to be healthy. So if you can get a full year, plus 200, full year of Ranger.
I didn't know Ranger was a stud soccer player, too.
I could see that, though, now.
Yeah, Jimmy Stakes bringing all the info.
See, you guys get on me when I bring up soccer, but your buddy Ranger is a big soccer guy, too. Bam. There's the connection. And we got to apparently figure out a way to hang with Ranger's family at some point.
That sounds like a fun time, right?
I'm down. I think we should get the invite. But yeah, great stuff from Jim there. And he really just echoed a lot of hopefully what we've been saying, but also what people need to hear of don't hit the panic button.
Oh, and by the way, this is why Bet Parks is great. Real quick, Matt Deckard says Rangers only plus 6,000 on some other sites.
Oh.
So you're getting the hometown odds there with Bet Parks. Thank you, Bet Parks.
Okay, let's take that. Let's take that.
Yeah.
But yes, as we all know, if you had to choose between having bad offensive production or bad pitching,
I would choose bad offensive production.
I will take bad offensive production.
Because as you've seen, you can hang in games and win games with good pitching. You can't really, you can survive without.
You don't want it to become a home run derby when you're just trying to outscore everybody.
If you're letting up 6 runs a game on average, you're not going to win more than 500% of your games.
No. So for that, at least the Phillies, although they have only had one game where they've scored more than 5 runs and 8 games where they've scored 3 or less, yikes. Pitching has been great. That's been helpful. And that did help them get that Jackie Robinson Day win. It was great to see all the different initiatives and conversations around the league around Jackie Robinson Day. I know the Phillies also introduced some new aspects of their Jackie Robinson displays at Citizens Bank Park to honor the club's first Black and minority players. Family members got to be a part of it. Fans got to check it out. So it's been great to see the Pioneers and pinstripes and everything that's been done here, but also around the league on Jackie Robinson Day. And then, of course, they're going to win. Ugly or not, a win is a
It
win,
was funny,
and the Phillies are above 500.
Sitting down with my almost 5-year-old, she picked. I had a proud dad moment on Saturday at the Little League opening day. She picked number 7, and we said, "Why'd you choose number 7?" She said, "Because Trey Turner." And I was like, "All right, oh God, I love you."
it.
So last night we're watching the game, and she's big on the numbers. Like she's been asking when Cristian Pache comes up, she goes, "Dad, who's that?" Like she doesn't recognize him yet. She's got the starters down. She's still confused by Whit Merrifield. Where did he come from? But last night she was really hung up on the 42 thing. She kept going, "He's 42. He's 42." Like blown away that everybody was wearing 42. So this is, part of to obviously honor and respect Jackie Robinson and his family and all that. But part of it is a teaching moment.
Correct.
Because me and my wife got to be like, they're all wearing 42 because of Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson, we gave the whole story and the history behind it. And it was just a really cool moment of like, teaching your kid about a major cultural icon in our nation's history. And,
I love that.
hat tip to Major League Baseball for recognizing it and doing it up great every year. And it's Major League Baseball Network last night had like a live panel all wearing their Jackie Robinson gear. It was really cool. It's a great day for Major League Baseball for sure.
Yeah, and it just keeps the conversation going because they do a good job of authentically sharing the story, sharing the history, allowing the next generation like your daughter to learn. And yes, according to MBDBDBF, she probably has a higher fielding percentage than Trey.
Trey made a web gem last night.
He did,
If we're going to point out the shitty plays, that play last night, the double play he turned by stepping on the bag, that was a really nice play.
Finally.
And Skylar's first game is Saturday, so we'll find out what her fielding percentage is after Saturday. But we've been working in the backyard.
I've been getting my littles involved.
I'm trying to get her to attack the ball instead of be afraid of the ball. That's like the biggest obstacle.
I get that. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to teach. But
they're like,
this is the time.
And I'm like, it's a softball. It's not going to hurt. Toughen up.
Or just shake it off if you get hit. You're fine.
Put some Windex on it. That's a movie quote. You're not going to get that one.
No, I know that. Oh my gosh.
Tyler, do you have this one?
I actually know.
I don't
Don't
think
say
so.
it yet if you do.
I'm gonna Google it because I don't know.
It's not an Adam Sandler movie.
Nope, it's
because
not.
I remember them.
It's more rom-com.
Oh, you know what? I've never seen this movie.
No, you haven't?
No.
Okay, tell me because this is gonna.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I knew it. Dang, I could picture dark hair, which is so sad, which is why I said Adam Sandler.
The dad's response to everything was put some Windex on it. I'm a vegetarian. Okay, lamb.
Oh, that hurts.
That's all right.
Also around the league as we wrap up, though, our a very familiar name is on a revenge tour. And it started last night. He had 5 scoreless innings against the Detroit Tigers. Michael Lorenzen saying he's got a chip on his shoulder the size of Texas.
That's a big chip.
Michael Lorenzen's got a chip on his shoulder, guys. Watch out.
For what?
Yeah, chip on. I mean, probably just not getting signed.
What chip is on your shoulder, pal?
Well, Tommy Phan's out here signing minor league deals, so
he did.
Things are weird. Chill out, Michael.
Things
Lorenzen.
are weird, and then
cool Vans though. I like his cleats.
Yeah, and then also Michael Busch for the Cubs made some history. The rookie had his 5th straight game of a home run, which is a club record. In fact, the Cubs have scored 14 runs over their last 5 games, and 7 of them have come on Busch's homers. So the rookie is making some noise.
Like?
I don't know.
You get a lot of runs in games.
I know.
It's fun.
And then lastly, we've seen some fashionable looks. Jamie, I know you found this because you're actually low-key Mr. GQ. You find some stuff.
Yeah.
Of your guy, Fernando Tatis Jr.'s
These cleats are
Jackie
awesome.
Robinson Jordans that he was rocking. Tyler, do you have those for us?
There they are. Jackie sliding in on the swoosh like that is pretty badass cleat. It was pretty awesome to see. So good job, Fernando.
I actually like them. I like the color. Like I really like the look of it. Like it's hard to pull off brown shoes, but those slap.
Oh, okay. That's what the kids are saying.
According to the kids, those slap. But yeah, what an interesting day we had yesterday. And I'm nervous but excited because it's Ranger to see what happens today, because as we know, Ranger Suarez is on the mound tonight, does get to start in game 2 against the Rockies, going to get up against Austin Gomber. I guess
what a
is how you
nerd
say.
Name.
Like Gomber? Gomber.
Maybe Ranger's not going to lose to a Gomber. Gomber. No, I like Ranger tonight. He's got Austin Gomber, whatever, 4.91 ERA on the year so far, 14 strikeouts for him. Rangers been dealing with a 2.05 ERA and 19 strikeouts.
Love that. Just 9
so
hits.
I like Ranger a little bit tonight. Tyler, do you still have the Bet Parks open in front of you there?
I don't, but here's some numbers on Gomber this year. He's made 3 starts. This will be his 4th. He's only gone 14 2/3 innings over the course of 3 starts. He's pitched to a 4.91 ERA and a 1.63 WHIP. He's given up
1.63. That's not good.
He's given up almost 5 walks per 9 innings, given up almost 2 home runs per 9 innings, and almost 10 hits per 9 innings. He's given up
So-
But
6.
while we're talking
We
about,
can expect the Phillies to get 2 hits and no walks tonight. then,
24
is what you're
base
telling me?
runners allowed over 14 2/3 innings.
but that's actually on track for his career numbers because his career ERA is a 4.9, his career WHIP is a 1.39, his WAR for career 3.2. So he's right actually on par for what his career is.
Yeah,
and
Phillies big
yet again,
favorites.
it's a great chance for the Phillies to see if they can get some offense clicking. What I will say
Nice
that
day.
has
Ball
me,
should carry.
what has me positive is like this stretch of Rockies White Sox series at home is perfect. Each game, I just want to see a progression. Last night, you at least got the win. Tonight, let's open that one up a little bit more. Score by a few more runs. Get the bats going. Like each game should be a progression that by the end of this home stretch, the Phillies are hitting the road, feeling and looking much better.
That would be nice.
That's it.
On Bet Parks, the Phillies are a big favorite, minus 250 on the money line. Here's how Bet Parks throws together those little same game parlays that are like pre-made and trending.
Yeah.
Here's one that's for $10. We'll get you 160 in return. Phillies money line under 8.5. Kyle Schwarber to hit a home run.
Like
and
it.
over 4.5 runs by the Phillies.
Well, being that they have struggled to score more than 5, I think that makes sense.
What was the under?
8.5.
So if you're assuming the Phillies score 5, then you have to play under the pretense that
5-2 or less.
the Rangers are only, or excuse me, the Rockies are only going to score 3.
5-3 or less.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
But the way that the pitching's been
plus,
going, I
it's
think
plus 1,600 for a reason. I mean, it's a tough bet. A Schwarber home run, it does feel like it's due. And
Yeah.
I also feel
Yeah.
like Harper is due. Like he's hitting the ball on the screws. One of these is going to be the proper launch angle, and it's going to leave the park.
Yeah.
It does feel like the two of them are close. I think the floodgates just need to open. Like you kind of thought Harper's 3 home run game was going to do it, or Nick's walk-off was going to do it. I think you need the heart of the order to really like bust this open. And I kind of think it's got to come from Harper or Schwarber, honestly. Turner, yeah, but like you need one of your big dogs to really like
you do. It's contagious.
have like a 2 or 3 run homer and just like kind of it's just like everything's such a struggle.
And it's contagious, and it really sets the tone. So if you can
Totally.
get Kyle at leadoff or Bryce early in the batting order to smash one out of the ballpark, everyone's feeling good. I know you guys in the chat are saying the under, the Phillies are barely able to score. Hypothetical man spiral.
Well,
Yeah,
then that
we
would
agree.
be good for the under.
Right, exactly. But I do think today is a great day. It's another beautiful sunny
day to
day,
have a great
another day
day.
at home, another chance to pile on against a Rockies team that's way below 500. And one last bit of positivity for
stink.
you, because in this 17-game stretch, I know it's very frustrating that the Phillies are just over 500, but again, their best 17-game stretch to start the season in 5 years. Last year when they had a 17-game stretch, that was in May to June, the Phillies went 5-12 during that time and scored 57 runs. So that happened just last season. They've had 17-game stretches that were worse. So there's a lot of very minor positive straws we're pulling at here and grasping straws quite literally. But tonight will be another chance for the Phillies to hopefully turn the tides. Ranger Suarez gets to start. Austin Gomber, let's just pepper Austin Gomber and load
They
up
threw a
on
little
some
stank
runs.
on it that time. Gomber.
Because I feel like that actually is a better name than Gomber. And somebody said in the chat, like, if you change that M, it's just Goober.
Well, when I read it every time,
Yeah, it's
I read Goober because
but-
I love Goober. I think it's a good
But
one.
it's time to score on Austin Gomber.
Austin Goober. Yeah, you can't lose a Ranger start to a Goober. Come on.
NBDBDB, I've said it right. Enough bleeping around. Stop playing with our food. Go win the game and score lots of runs.
Yeah, let's get a
And
sweep. Like last night might have been the tough one. Let's just go kick their doors in.
And you know what? Actually, every series, you do have a
Stink.
down game. And if that's your down game
Yeah.
that you barely win, 2-1, disgusting, ugly, slow game, that counts in my mind as a loss. But in the records, it's a win, obviously, and let the rest be nice, open wins to sweep them. So yes, let's have this happen. It's happening, guys. We're manifesting it. It's a big win today. The Phillies are going to open the floodgates against the Rockies tonight. We will be back live tomorrow for a post-game show. As every post-game show so far this season, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow for our post-game show. If there's any reason why the game gets tweaked, we will tweak our schedule as well. But know that we will not be live at 11 a.m. And if there's anything that changes, we will, of course, as always, let you know via social media and everything. Otherwise, we'll be starting right after the game ends tomorrow and after the Phillies beat the Rockies and close out the sweep tomorrow, manifesting that as well. So for Tyler, Jamie, our guest Jim today, myself, Renee, have a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow live for more on PHLY Phillies Podcast. See you guys.
We all silly like the mayor.